Good afternoon. It's Sunday, March 20th. It's a warm and breezy day with highs in the 70s on this first day of spring. The conflicts that we're seeing tie in with the Battle of Gog and Magog, which refers to Russia, and Israel's rightfully concerned about that. The Battle of Gog and Magog involving Russia and a number of other nations. When the Antichrist comes to power, he'll be seen as a man of solutions, a man of worldly solutions, resolving conflicts between nations and other worldwide issues. He'll be widely looked up to and admired by the world, or at least some people will think that. We're actually going to see things fall apart halfway through the 7-year tribulation, and what the Bible refers to as the abomination of desolation. As we look at Daniel 9, verse 27, and he shall confirm a covenant with many for 1 week, meaning 7 years. And in the midst of that week, he shall cause the sacrifice and oblation to cease. So this is referred to as the abomination of desolation, which is something that happens in the middle of the tribulation. And from that point, the Antichrist will be permitted to continue another 42 months, which is the latter 3.5 years. Looking at 1 Peter chapter 4, starting in verse 7, but the end of all things is at hand. Be ye therefore sober, and watch unto prayer, and above all things have fervent charity among yourselves. For charity shall cover the multitude of sins. Use hospitality one to another without grudging, as every man hath received the gift, even so minister the same one to another, as good stewards of the manifold grace of God. And I just discovered this trail last winter. It's not on the park map. So this is my first video on this particular trail to what they call Bison Hollow here at Platte River State Park. And no doubt many people have seen their 401ks, their investments suffering recently with all the turmoil going on in Russia and Ukraine and throughout the world, and concern what China might do, as people are speculating China might end up invading Taiwan, and also the potential for trouble that we're seeing involving Iran and Israel in the Middle East. So there's a lot to be concerned about in this world. Things aren't looking that good right now. The Bible also mentions about inflation being a problem in the end times, like a day's wages to buy a loaf of bread, for example. And this is a little picnic area that they call Bison Hollow. It's kind of a peaceful place to relax. Taking a brief moment to pause here on this beautiful Sunday afternoon. So even as we're seeing a lot of things happening right now to where people are worried about the economy, even the global economy, which seems to be at risk. Even in a tight labor market, the global economy that seems to be at risk as we're seeing inflation ramp up. Of course, it was much better when gasoline was cheaper a couple years ago. But anyway, we're definitely seeing Bible prophecy being fulfilled here. And it's important that we're relying on stocking up treasures in heaven, as worldly things have no way of converting to heavenly currency. So no matter what's in your 401k or other investments or the type of house you might have, what's going to matter here and now is your relationship with Jesus Christ. Looking at Matthew 6, lay not up for yourselves treasures upon earth, where moth and rust doth corrupt, and where thieves break through and steal. But lay up for yourselves treasures in heaven, where neither moth nor rust doth corrupt, and where thieves do not break through nor steal. For where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. And taking a look at John 10, verses 9 through 11. I am the door. By me, if any man enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. The thief cometh not but for to steal, and to kill, and to destroy. I am come that they might have life, and that they might have it more abundantly. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for the sheep. And also looking at Luke 19, verse 10. For the Son of Man is come to seek and to save that which was lost. And that's a beautiful hillside there. As we continue with Romans 12. I beseech you therefore, brethren, by the mercies of God, that you present your bodies a living sacrifice, holy, acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable service. And be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing of your mind, that ye may prove what is that good and acceptable and perfect will of God. For I say, through the grace given unto me, to every man that is among you, not to think of himself more highly than he ought to think, but to think soberly, according as God hath dealt to every man the measure of faith. So it's a reminder that even though we've seen many years come and go, we can look back over the recent decades and see all the changes that are happening in the world around us. Some changes for the good and some for the not so good. But as we're seeing Bible prophecy being fulfilled at a rate faster than ever before, then we have the comfort in knowing that as long as we're on Team Jesus, we're going to be okay. And the Bible talks about the end times as men would be overcome with fear in these latter years as the tribulation is coming upon this world now. But we're to take comfort in knowing that Jesus Christ has a plan for those who seek and follow him. And taking a look at Luke 21, verses 34 through 36. And take heed to yourselves, lest at any time your hearts be overcharged with surfeiting and drunkenness and the cares of this life, and so that day come upon you unawares. For as a snare shall it come on all them that dwell upon the face of the whole earth. Watch ye therefore, and pray always, that ye may be accounted worthy to escape all these things that shall come to pass, and to stand before the Son of Man. Remember, we're still looking for that blessed hope, as these are urgent times now and in the near future.